Chosen one, there are moments in life where the noise of the world must fall silent, where distractions fade, and you feel the weight of a voice deep inside your spirit. This is not paranoia. This is not fear. This is divine clarity, the kind that demands you listen. God's warnings are not casual. They are not suggestions. They are lifelines. And when they come, they carry the weight of a future that depends on your obedience. You may not understand the full picture yet, but you feel it. That stirring in your soul, that heaviness that won't let you settle, that repeated sign you keep seeing, it is heaven trying to get your attention. Before we go deeper, stay with me until the very end of this message, because there is something in it that will not only bring confirmation to your spirit, but will set the energy of your next season into motion. If this resonates with you, share your warmest wishes in the comments and type 144 so that together we can send that vibration out into the universe. The more you release that energy, the more it multiplies and returns to you, turning the unseen into the undeniable. Now, chosen one, show your light by liking this video and subscribe to the channel. And let's step into this together. God's warning is not meant to scare you. It's meant to save you. Sometimes we mistake delays for rejection, when in truth, they are divine protection. You were about to step into something that looked harmless, but would have drained your spirit. You were about to trust someone whose intentions were never pure. You were about to take on an opportunity that would have looked like a blessing, but would have stolen your peace. The warning came to interrupt that, to keep you from a road that would have been costly. But here's the challenge. Obedience rarely feels convenient. The warning will often ask you to step back when everything in you wants to move forward. It will ask you to say no when you've been waiting for a yes. It will require you to walk away from something that everyone else would call a dream come true. And that's the test. Do you trust the one guiding you more than the situation in front of you? You've been prepared for this moment. All the times you didn't understand why certain doors closed, why certain people left, why certain seasons ended, they were rehearsals for this very decision. God's warnings are sharper now because your calling is closer. The higher the elevation, the greater the precision required to reach it. This is not the time to ignore the tug in your spirit. Sometimes the warning will come in the form of discomfort, a job that suddenly feels suffocating, a friendship that feels forced, an environment that no longer feels right. Other times, it will come in stillness. Nothing seems to move forward no matter how much effort you put in. Both are signals. Both are saying, it's time to shift. The danger of ignoring God's warning is that it doesn't stop the consequences. It just postpones the lesson. And every delay takes you further from the alignment you've been working toward. But if you move when the warning comes, you place yourself in the flow of divine timing, where the right people, the right opportunities, and the right moments meet you without striving. This is the moment to sharpen your ears and quiet your impulses. Because the voice of God will never compete with the noise, it waits for you to lean in. And when you do, you realize that the warning isn't just about avoiding harm. It's about positioning you for what's next. When God sends a warning, it's not random, it's strategic. It's the unseen hand moving ahead of you, clearing the path, removing traps, and shifting pieces into place. Most of the time, you won't see the danger until later. That's why it requires trust now. The danger might be spiritual, emotional, or even physical, but the goal is always the same: to protect the vessel that carries the assignment. And chosen one, that vessel is you. There's a reason your spirit feels unsettled about certain conversations, certain rooms, certain plans. That's not overthinking, that's discernment. It's the spirit saying, pay attention. This doesn't align with your destiny. Sometimes it's not about whether something is good or bad, it's about whether it's yours. Even a good thing at the wrong time can derail the plan. God's warnings often come just before a major shift. They are the final checkpoint before crossing into a new season. That's why you might feel an unusual intensity right now. You're sensing things you can't explain. You're seeing patterns repeat. You're catching yourself about to say yes, and then feeling that deep internal no. That's alignment protecting you from misalignment. If you've ever ignored a warning in the past, you know the weight of regret that follows. You replay the moment in your head and think, I knew it. I felt it. I should have listened. This time is different. You've grown. You've learned that obedience is cheaper than disobedience. Ignoring the warning might cost you months or even years. Listening to it may feel costly in the short term, but it saves you in the long run. The world often tells you to push harder, to never quit, to always make it happen. But the chosen ones move differently. You are not here to force your way into places that are not built for you. You are here to walk into the ones that God has prepared in advance. And the warning is part of that preparation. Think of it like this. A captain doesn't steer a ship based on what the sea looks like right in front of him. He navigates based on maps, currents, and weather patterns that aren't visible to the passengers. God sees the full route. He sees the storms ahead. He knows when to shift your direction before you even see the clouds forming. And if you follow His warning, you avoid wreckage you didn't even know was coming. But here's the part most people miss. The warning isn't just about avoiding the wrong thing. It's about making room for the right thing. Sometimes you have to let go of something good to receive something great. Sometimes you have to step out of a room you prayed to be in, because God knows staying there would keep you from a bigger door. Chosen one, this is your reminder. Do not confuse God's warning with fear. Fear will paralyze you. God's warning will free you. One keeps you stuck, the other moves you into alignment. The difference is in the peace you feel after obeying. Even if you don't understand it, obedience carries a peace that can't be faked. The moment you obey God's warning, something begins to shift in the unseen. Doors that were previously stuck begin to unlock. Paths that felt blocked begin to open. The weight you've been carrying suddenly feels lighter. That's because obedience removes the spiritual debris you didn't even realize was slowing you down. You may not see the full picture instantly, but you'll start to notice small signs that confirm you made the right choice. The anxiety you felt begins to fade. The people who were pulling at your energy start to fall away. Opportunities that truly align with your spirit begin to show up, not because you chased them, but because you were in the right position to receive them. Obedience is magnetic in the spiritual realm. When you act on a warning, you send a signal to heaven that you're ready for the next stage of your assignment. It's a declaration that you value God's voice above your own plans. And when you do that, heaven responds with acceleration. This is why some people seem to experience sudden breakthroughs out of nowhere. It's never out of nowhere. It's the visible result of a private decision to follow a divine instruction when no one else was watching. The breakthrough is simply the harvest of obedience. It's important to understand that not everyone will understand your decision when you follow a warning. Some will think you're being overly cautious. Others may accuse you of missing opportunities. But chosen one, your destiny was never built to be understood by everyone. The same warning that feels urgent to you may sound unnecessary to those not carrying your assignment. And that's okay. They don't need to see it. You do. When you choose to obey, you also protect your pace. You avoid detours that would have consumed your energy and delayed your promise. Think of how many people spend years trying to recover from one wrong decision they made because they ignored a warning. You are being spared from that. Your timeline is being protected. Your resources are being preserved. And here's the deeper truth. Every time you obey, your discernment sharpens. You begin to recognize God's voice faster. You waste less time second-guessing. You learn to move in alignment with an ease that feels supernatural. That's when life stops being a constant battle and starts becoming a divine flow. Obedience also positions you for divine encounters, moments where the right person, the right opportunity, and the right timing meet in perfect alignment. These are the "only God could have done this" moments that change the trajectory of your life. And they only happen when you're in the place He told you to be. So if you've been feeling like you're in a holding pattern, understand this. The warning was the final adjustment before your release. The shift you've been waiting for is on the other side of this obedience. Ignoring a warning doesn't just keep you where you are, it sets you back. The moment you choose to override what God is showing you, you step out of divine flow and into a man-made struggle. And that struggle is costly. It can cost you time, energy, relationships, resources, and sometimes even your peace of mind. Cycles begin when we ignore the signs. You've seen it before in your own life. The same type of situation repeating, the same type of person showing up in different forms, the same pattern of disappointment. That's not coincidence. That's the consequence of bypassing the warning. And God, in His mercy, will keep giving you opportunities to break that cycle. But each time, the decision will cost a little more. Some people spend years circling the same mountain because they refuse to turn when God says turn. They think they're chasing opportunities, but in reality, they're running from obedience. And until the warning is acknowledged and acted upon, the cycle continues. The scenery may change, but the lesson remains the same. The enemy thrives in delayed obedience. He knows he can't fully derail your destiny, so he aims to exhaust you instead. He wants to keep you running in circles, chasing things that look promising but have no foundation. And every time you ignore the warning, you hand him another lap around the track. But chosen one, you are not meant to live in cycles. You are meant to live in seasons. Seasons are divinely timed, with clear beginnings and endings. Cycles are man-made loops that trap you until you choose differently. And the warning you're hearing right now is the door out of the loop. Sometimes the hardest part is that the warning won't always come with details. You may not get a full explanation of why you should avoid something. You may just get the nudge to step back. And this is where your faith has to be stronger than your curiosity. The need to know can be the very thing that keeps people trapped. You don't have to understand the danger to avoid it. You only have to trust the one who sees it. Every warning is also a test of alignment. Will you cling to your preferences, or will you choose your purpose? Will you hold on to something because it's familiar, or will you release it because it's not for you? The choice you make now will echo far beyond this moment. The truth is, every major leap in your life has been preceded by a decision, and some of your most painful delays have been the result of ignoring one. God's warning is His way of cutting that delay short, of getting you back into position before too much is lost. This is why, when you hear Him say move, you cannot afford to hesitate. The faster you obey, the shorter the gap between the warning and the blessing. When you respond to a warning quickly, you're not just avoiding danger. You're stepping into acceleration. God doesn't just call you away from something. He calls you towards something better. The moment you pivot in obedience, you align with the exact place, time, and positioning that heaven has prepared for you. Acceleration happens because you've removed the barriers that would have slowed you down. The relationships that were draining you, gone. The distractions that were pulling you off course, removed. The opportunities that would have wasted your time, blocked. Suddenly, you have the clarity and capacity to move at a pace that was impossible before. Think about how a runner gains speed when they drop unnecessary weight. That's exactly what happens in the Spirit when you obey a warning. You stop carrying things that were never meant for you. And without that weight, you can move further, faster. This is why certain blessings seem to suddenly appear after you follow God's direction. They were already there, waiting for you to be in the right place to receive them. The obedience didn't create the blessing, it positioned you for it. It's also why some people remain stuck in waiting seasons for years. They hear the warning, but delay their obedience, hoping for more clarity or a safer moment to act. But chosen one, clarity often comes after you move, not before. The faith to obey without all the details is what unlocks the next step. And here's the part that's easy to miss. When you obey, you create a ripple effect. Every step you take in alignment opens up opportunities, connections, and resources that you couldn't have accessed before. You may think you're making one small adjustment, but in reality, you're shifting your entire trajectory. Obeying a warning also sends a message to the spiritual realm, to both heaven and hell, that you are serious about your assignment. Heaven responds by releasing more clarity, more resources, and more favor. Hell responds by realizing that the usual distractions no longer work on you. And that's when you begin to walk in a level of authority you've never experienced before. This is why God's warning is never meant to be ignored or postponed. It's not about controlling you, it's about freeing you. It's about getting you into the exact alignment necessary for your next level. Every time you choose obedience over convenience, you shorten the distance between where you are and where you're called to be. And once you've tasted that kind of acceleration, you'll never want to go back to forcing things that were never yours. You'll recognize the beauty of moving in sync with divine timing, where every step feels lighter, every decision feels clearer, and every blessing feels like it was made for you. When you obey God's warning, it doesn't just change your direction, it changes you. Obedience reshapes your identity from the inside out. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is simply trying to make the right moves, and you start recognizing yourself as someone who moves with divine wisdom and authority. Chosen one, authority isn't just given, it's proven. And one of the ways God proves your authority is by watching how you handle His voice. When He gives you a warning, He's not only protecting you from what's ahead, He's also preparing you for what's coming. He's seeing whether you can be trusted with more responsibility, more influence, more territory. The more you obey, the more your spiritual authority expands. You begin to notice that your words carry more weight. Your presence has more impact. Doors open not because of who you know, but because of who you've become. That's the kind of authority that can't be faked, and it can't be taken away, because it's built on alignment with God's will. Obeying a warning also changes the way you handle distractions. You stop entertaining things that pull you off course. You no longer feel the need to argue with people who don't understand your choices. Your focus becomes razor-sharp, and your energy is directed only toward things that move you forward. This is how you begin to walk as a true steward of your calling. And here's the thing. When you carry that kind of authority, the spiritual realm notices. Darkness recognizes it and backs away. Opportunities recognize it and move toward you. People feel it and respond differently. You become a walking confirmation that obedience isn't weakness, it's power. This transformation also impacts how you see the future. Fear loses its grip on you because you've seen firsthand that obedience leads to provision. You've learned that even if you don't understand the why, you can still trust the who. That level of trust allows you to walk into new seasons with boldness, knowing that if God brought you here, He's already prepared the way. The identity shift is subtle at first. You start making decisions quicker, setting boundaries without guilt, moving in silence when necessary. But then it becomes undeniable. You're no longer the same person who used to hesitate or compromise. You're moving as someone who knows they've been set apart. And that's why this warning is so significant. It's not just about avoiding loss. It's about shaping you into the version of yourself who can fully carry the next level of your assignment. God's warning is not a stop sign. It's a refinement process. It's a reminder that what you're carrying is too valuable to risk on the wrong path. When you obey, you're not only protecting what you have, you're protecting who you are becoming. The moment you obey God's warning, a shift happens, not just in your own life, but in the atmosphere around you. It's like flipping a spiritual switch. What was once blocked begins to move. What was hidden begins to reveal itself. The resistance you felt starts to break. In the Spirit, obedience sends a loud, undeniable signal. It says, "I choose God's will over my own." And that declaration carries authority. It alerts heaven that you are in alignment and ready to receive the next instruction. Angels are dispatched, assignments are released, and chains you didn't even know existed begin to fall. But it doesn't stop there. The enemy also hears the signal, and it's a sound he fears. Because when you act quickly on God's warning, you cut off his plans before they can take root. The traps set for you become useless. The people assigned to distract you lose their grip. The situations designed to drain you collapse before they can even unfold. In the physical world, you start to notice confirmation almost immediately. It could be an opportunity that comes out of nowhere, a conversation that affirms your choice, or even the sudden peace you feel in your spirit. These aren't coincidences. They're evidence that you moved in the right timing. Your relationships shift too. Some people will respect you more because of your decisiveness. Others may quietly fade away because they were only meant to be part of your journey until this point. It's important to understand that every departure is part of the protection. God's warnings don't just keep danger out, they remove what can't go with you. Obeying a warning also creates momentum. Once you've made that first bold move, the next step becomes clearer. Then the next. Before you know it, you're walking in a rhythm that feels almost effortless. That's the power of alignment. It's not about striving harder, it's about moving in sync with what's already prepared for you. And perhaps the most powerful change is internal. You begin to trust yourself more. You see that you can hear God's voice clearly. You see that you can make decisions without needing everyone's approval. You see that you can walk away from what doesn't serve your calling, even if it's hard. That confidence becomes a permanent part of you. The spiritual realm and the physical realm mirror each other in this way. Both respond to obedience. And the faster you respond, the quicker the shift happens. When you move on God's warning, you're not just avoiding danger, you're creating space for miracles to land. When you make obedience your default response, something powerful happens. Your life becomes unshakable. Not because storms won't come, but because you're always positioned ahead of them. You're never caught completely off guard, because God's voice becomes your early alert system. This is where true stability comes from. It's not built on perfect circumstances. It's built on quick, unwavering alignment. The enemy can't trap you the same way twice, because you've learned to recognize his patterns. And every time you obey, your spiritual discernment sharpens even more. Obedience becomes a shield. It surrounds your decisions, your relationships, your opportunities. It filters out what isn't meant for you before it can even attach itself to your life. This is why people will look at you and wonder how you seem to avoid certain disasters. They won't understand that it's not luck, it's listening. And the more you listen, the more your foundation strengthens. You stop building on unstable ground. You stop entering rooms that God never invited you into. You stop entertaining ideas that don't align with your calling. Every step you take is intentional, and every move you make is reinforced by divine timing. Consistency in obedience also sends a message to your own spirit. I can be trusted with my own destiny. You're no longer living reactively, putting out fires after the damage is done. Instead, you're living proactively, guided by warnings that position you for favor before the opportunity even arrives. Over time, this way of living makes you spiritually unshakable. The winds may blow, but your roots are deep. The waves may crash, but your foundation is solid. Attacks may come, but they don't knock you down. They simply reveal how well you've been prepared. And the most beautiful part? This is the kind of life where blessings don't just come and go. They stay. Because you've built an environment where they can grow, where they're protected, and where they multiply. Obedience doesn't just protect you from loss. It preserves the harvest you've worked for. When you move quickly on God's warning, you don't just avoid setbacks. You step into acceleration. This is the part most people don't realize. Obedience isn't only about protection. It's about positioning. Think about it. When God warns you to leave a place, end a connection, or shift your focus, it's not just because danger is near. It's because something ahead requires your presence sooner than you think. By obeying, you're not just escaping something bad, you're arriving early to something good. Acceleration happens because alignment shortens the distance between where you are and where you're meant to be. When you remove what doesn't belong, there's less resistance. When you close the wrong doors, the right ones open faster. It's like God is clearing the runway so you can take off without delay. In the spiritual realm, this acceleration is obvious. Angels move ahead of you, arranging divine connections you couldn't have scheduled. Resources start showing up without you having to chase them. Skills you didn't think you had become sharper because you're now in an environment that pulls them out of you. In the physical realm, acceleration feels like out-of-nowhere blessings, but in reality, they were always waiting for you. They just couldn't reach you while you were stuck in the wrong place or tied to the wrong people. The moment you obeyed, the path cleared, and those blessings could finally land. And here's something even more powerful. Acceleration compounds. The more you obey, the faster things align. The faster things align, the greater your impact becomes. Before long, you're not only catching up on lost time, you're surpassing the version of yourself that would have existed if you hadn't obeyed at all. People will call it luck. They'll say that you just got a break. But you'll know it wasn't chance. It was the direct result of listening, of moving when others hesitated, of trusting God's timing over your own comfort. Acceleration also attracts. The right people are drawn to speed. They want to connect with those who are moving with purpose, not wasting time in confusion. This means your obedience doesn't just accelerate your personal journey, it accelerates the arrival of people, partnerships, and platforms that multiply your reach. And here's the secret. Acceleration isn't exhausting. It's not about rushing or forcing your way forward. It's about flowing with a pace set by God Himself, one that feels natural because it's powered by grace, not grind. When you obey the warning, you step into a life where things happen sooner than expected, doors open wider than imagined, and your impact runs deeper than planned. When God warns you and you hesitate, you may not feel the consequences immediately, but they begin the moment you choose to ignore the nudge. The cost of delay isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Ignoring a warning doesn't just keep you in the wrong place longer. It alters the timing of everything that was supposed to happen next. Opportunities that were perfectly aligned for this moment may no longer fit later. People who were ready to meet you now may move on by the time you arrive. Even the environment itself can change in ways that make the original blessing harder to receive. The enemy loves delayed obedience because it's still disobedience in disguise. He knows if he can't stop you outright, he can slow you down until the window closes. And when that window closes, it doesn't always reopen in the same way. There's also an emotional cost. The longer you stay where you're not supposed to be, the more attached you become, even to the wrong things. You start rationalizing, convincing yourself that it's not that bad, or maybe God didn't mean it that way. That false comfort is the enemy's way of keeping you still while danger grows silently around you. Spiritually, ignoring a warning dulls your sensitivity to God's voice. Every time you override that nudge, your heart hardens just a little. And over time, it becomes harder to tell the difference between divine instruction and your own thoughts. That's why some people find themselves in cycles, because they've lost the ability to hear the very voice trying to guide them out. And the physical consequences? They can range from missed opportunities to actual harm. The wrong business decision can drain your finances. The wrong relationship can wound your heart. The wrong location can expose you to attacks you were never meant to face. But here's the truth. Even if you've delayed before, God's mercy still allows recovery. It may take longer. The path may look different. But as long as you choose to obey now, you can step back into alignment. The key is to act the moment you hear, not tomorrow, not after you think it over, not after you get everyone's opinion. The longer you wait, the more expensive the delay becomes. Because every moment you hesitate is a moment your miracle is kept waiting for you to arrive.